What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to romasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. What is up, dudes? Can you guys hear me? Let's see. I'm going to invite Ray on the screen. Francisco, what is up, brother? Lucas, what's up, dude? Mr. Ray. Can you hear me, Beast? Lucas, can you hear me, bro? Fran, can you hear me? All right, sweet.
Yo.
What's going on, brother?
What up? Life is good. It's
dude, I think
thaw. The ice is starting to thaw up here in Toronto. It's like 32 degrees. Ugh, it's like the middle of August, bro.
Dude, do you notice your motivation for like physical exercise decrease during winter or no?
Oh yeah, dude. My motivation for everything decreases.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Jake. I went to a naturopath appointment this week, and we talked a lot about that. You know, like it was interesting. We were talking about weight and diet, and so what I did is because for the longest time I was taking pictures of the scale every day as part of the Rhomas weight loss challenge.
Yeah.
We just went into my photos and like pinpointed like the lowest weight,
mm-hmm.
and then the climb, and so it was like, and so we were able to like deconstruct the fact that when we were doing the weight loss challenge like about a year ago, right? Like, kind of like, I think it probably started in like a kind of New Year's resolution kind of thing. And so I was really committed, moving every day, eating my green drink. And then I think we went to Florida for half of April, May, and half of June. And that's when the wheels fell off, right? That's when I was down in Florida. I didn't have to wear a mask. I was going out to meals in restaurants every day and stuff.
Hanging out with Wahlberg.
Yeah, exactly. And
yep.
And yeah, he eats a lot of calories, right? Because he's working out at like 3 a.m. Right? And so yeah, and so that we could just see the weight, like like take off the rocket. And so we created a kind of we created a roadmap to getting back to that, which is like, we know what we have to do, right? We have to eat healthy and we have to move every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get some kind of movement every day. And so that's the plan. And as the weather gets better, it's going to be easier to get outdoor exercise going, for example. So yeah, I could blame the winter for my size and for my like sedentary lifestyle, but it's choice as well.
Well, how's your diet looking?
The diet is looking.
And how would I say your diet is looking if I had a video of what you're eating? Okay, got it. Yeah.
Like suicidal. Like I'm trying to make my heart stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So I think the first thing I'm hearing is that it's pretty cool. You did sort of like an anecdotal analysis of like, where's the negative inflection point? Yeah. And like, what was that thing that threw you off? I wonder if there's a pattern there. There's definitely a pattern for all of us. And I could totally see how a certain percentage of those patterns could be vacation related or just some sort of like severely scheduling altering situation. Now the question is, have you looked into alter egos at all by any chance?
No. No, tell me. I'm thinking of the Sega game from the 80s. Is it Altered State or Altered Beast or something?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. So apparently
Tell me
there's a
about alter
book.
egos.
There's a book about this apparently, and I was talking to a psychologist friend of mine, and she said she read the book. She said, "Don't waste your time reading the book because after talking about it for 5 minutes, you'll probably get the entire gist of it." But I don't know if you know this, but Beyonce has an alter
Yeah.
ego. What is it? It's like Sasha Fierce or something like that.
No,
Um,
yeah, no, I'm not. I can't speak to with any specificity to Beyonce's alter ego, but I know you've talked.
yeah.
I know you're part of the Beehive for sure, and that you have. I know you've used her as examples before. So go on.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because I was talking to the psychologist about it, and I said, "Hey, just out of curiosity, you could do like cognitive behavioral therapy. You could do like there's a Gestalt therapy. There's all these different types of therapy you can do, and it seems like a decent amount of them involve like going pretty deep into your history, all the way back to like being a child."
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, I was just curious, talking about this alter ego thing because we were talking about Beyonce, and apparently she was raised, I think, a hardcore Catholic, something along those lines, and she was just not physically able to do the things that were required, like dancing promiscuously and wearing promiscuous clothes. And apparently, per what this book said, was that the day that she was able to adopt the alter ego was the day that she was able to like go purely into acting like that person."
Mm-hmm.
And so I was talking to a psychologist, said, "Hey, like, what's the data behind that of, for most people trying to do most things, should they try to dive back so deep into their history, or can they just have a blank slate? Like, no, I'm Michael Jordan today. So, and Michael Jordan does things like this. I don't do things like this because my inner child won't allow me to. But what happens when I'm Michael Jordan and I don't have all of that historical baggage?" So I think that's pretty interesting. I wonder how we could use that. Like yours could be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. Arnold wouldn't eat that, so it doesn't have to go through all of the psychological, like, well, I'm not good enough, and that's just not me, and I'm big boned, and blah blah blah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. What would Arnold do?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. The first thing I think of is like Halloween. Like when we wear a costume, or for me anyway, when I wear a costume, mask, makeup, whatever. There's something so liberating about it.
mm-hmm.
Right? Where I'm not dragged down by all my baggage. Or when I go traveling, and I get like there's a kind of reinvention,
Yeah,
right? Where you don't have to tell, like if you meet someone, you can just you get to decide the biography that you tell them,
yep,
right? And so what you're talking about makes me think of that, and so what if we didn't have to travel to a different country or wait till that one day of the year, Halloween, to switch into that altered state?
exactly. And I think you can probably, and I'm going to try this. You could probably try this in drips, because I would imagine that it's difficult to just do the entire day. But it's like, well, what if just for 1 hour a day, or for every meal that I ate, I was a different human? And the coolest thing is when you start doing this, let's just say for the diet, and you start working out, specifically weight training, you feel like Arnold. Like after the first workout, you're looking at your fucking chest in the mirror. You're like, oh, okay, man.
I'm ready to compete.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. So I think the cards are stacked positively in that regard. I think just the diet's the hardest fucking part. Like no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think like personally, I could also apply this to sales, right? Like, or a cold
definitely.
calling, like wearing that mask of the sales superstar. Or
What has actually, yeah, tell me about it. Like, who would you be? Because I do think it's beneficial to embody somebody, not necessarily just like the archetypal features, because it's like a unity of one thing. It's like, you know who Ari Gold is?
On the
Entourage?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So something like that. It's like, today I'm Ari Gold.
Hollywood agent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So who would it be for you, and what parts of your life would you use an alter ego?
I don't know, Wes. Like, I mean, I often think of you when I'm trying to apply the Sandler sales because, like, it's
Oh,
so
cool.
obvious. It's so obvious to me when you like when we're talking and or when you're talking in this format and you use the upfront contract. Like it's so. And now that I've done that, now that I'm studying it, it's so obvious to me when you're like, do you mind if I give you some advice on this?
Yeah, yeah,
And you can say no anytime. You can walk away.
yeah, yeah.
Do
Can
you
you
have an
explain to people
agreement?
what the upfront contract is?
Right. So the upfront contract in the Sandler sales technique is a way of creating parity with between the potential buyer and the salesperson.
Yeah,
Where
and consent.
consent, right? So, and the way you've talked about it in this group is like, um, you let them know it's okay for you to say no at any point in this process. Just so you know, if you don't think it's a good fit, you can say no. Are we cool with that? I would say yes, and then you would say, and I also reserve the right. I mean, you use better language, but I also reserve the right to say no to your business, to
Mhm.
your money, if I think it's not a good fit. Do you want to phrase it your way for me?
Yeah, do you mind if I add to that?
Are you asking for an agreement?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
Go.
so there's two major parts. Number one, well, there's three major parts. Um, in journalism, they say never bury the lead. So you don't bury the most important thing. So that's why the headlines oftentimes are clickbaity, but that's why headlines are clickbaity. It's like, hey, here's the one thing you're going to get,
The hottest
So
victims in the Ukraine conflict so far.
yeah, exactly, right.
Mhm.
So you don't bury the lead. You put that at the top. You put that at the front of the conversation or the front of the sales pitch or the front of the date or whatever it is. You can use this in all areas of life.
Mhm.
So that's the bait. The headline is the bait. And then you say to the person like, hey, some version of what Sandler Sales would tell you is like, we're basically about to get into an adult conversation, right? We're about to enter into a new space. And in that space, there's going to be certain requirements. Now, I've literally told people this line. You don't have to use it, like all the stuff that I'm saying. But that's when I first started out. I was like, we are about to enter into like an actual conversation of progress. And it might get uncomfortable. Are you okay with that? So these little questions to like drip them in. Because what happens oftentimes, and this is the shitty part about it. I'll give you an example. I was at Home Goods 2 days ago, being a good steward of making this apartment look a little bit better, right? And this attractive woman comes up to me and she's like, hey, it looks like you're trying to pick up some cool stuff, maybe for like goals or something like that. Cause I was looking in the section that kind of implied that. And I was like, yeah, dude, very quickly though, like within like 1 minute, I could tell that she was a network marketer, because she's asking all the same questions of a network marketer. And she's like, oh yeah, like, well, in my business, I'm trying to do this and we're trying, like, it's like, oh man. So that's an example of being not upfront and not creating an upfront contract because she's trying to be flirty and bleed together, right? This like ulterior motive that now I know of. And it's like, you know, I'm immediately I can no longer hear the words that she's saying. Yep.
Did she work at the store or was she just approaching you?
No.
Ah,
Yep.
so she was just like kind of like approaching you on the street saying, "Do you have a minute so I can tell you about
Yeah.
this gym?"
Yeah. And I didn't necessarily engage, but
Okay.
like, yeah, she was kind of like off to the side of me and like, hey, that's a pretty cool thing. And I was like, yeah, and I
So
was
you
I
can
was in a
tell right
rush.
away that there was like a gym membership conversation coming down the pipe or
100%,
something. Yeah.
100%. So now I can't hear any words that you say. So I quickly cut off the conversation. Say, yeah, I'm super pressed for time. I'm really sorry. Right. That's an example of trying to be sneaky about what you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
I prefer not to be that way. And Sandler sales training really helped me like double down on this.
Right.
So
And
in sales, it's like, hey,
Kaizen said in the chat, like
yeah,
you need trust, comfort, and connection first, right? And like
yep.
and I guess
Oh, without doubt.
honesty and transparency about why you're there is like
Yes.
is the way the Sandler says like to approach it.
Yeah, exactly. And Kaizen, 100% right. Like these people typically say, like, have you ever want to be your own boss? And yeah, the needy vibe is coming through for sure. So now here's the thing. To Kaizen's first point, what I've noticed a lot of salespeople do, and a lot of men do with dating, is they try to elongate the need, trust, and comfort stage way too long, like way too long, because they're scared of the ask. So it's somewhere towards the top 10% of the relationship or the conversation where we can establish that stuff, and then really state what your desires are. And that in dating, I do it all the time. Like with attractive females, prior, like when I was in the dating scene, I 100% did it. Just said like, hey, like
but you're in the dating scene currently, aren't you?
I am exclusively dating one person right now.
Okay.
We're testing that out. No, it didn't. So I can get back to that too. So
no, it's so interesting how like this, like, I started the conversations with sales, but these techniques apply to dating, to all human relations, you know?
It's attraction, human decision making. I mean, that is universal to all areas of life, definitely. Mm-hmm. So I never bury my intention. Now, I'm not stupid about it. Like, I just don't go right out of the gate and say something dumb first 5 minutes of a conversation. But I'm also not hiding from it. So when it's appropriate, when we go along that intimacy curve, whether it be in sales or interpersonal relationships, doesn't matter. But I never make my intentions unknown. As soon as the first inch of acceptability comes into play, where I can tell somebody my intentions, bless you, I do tell them that. Now, the other thing is, in dating, I also don't have intent. Like, I'm interviewing that person just as much as they're interviewing me. So I don't have the intentions out of the gate. And I mean that sincerely. Like, I don't want to spend time with you. I don't want to sleep with you. I don't want to like hang out with you until I know that we're equally yoked to a certain degree. So I think that's the first thing too. Like, check your intentions. Like, just think same with sales. I don't want to sell you if I don't know if you're a good fit or not. If I don't have like some reasonable understanding if we're going to work together, I don't want to give you an hour and a half long sales pitch. It's a waste of fucking time. Mm-hmm. Now, once I've determined that you're in that category, I also don't want it to be weird. I want to say, hey, Ray, you and I have talked a couple times now. Seems like it might be a good fit here. That's what I'm feeling from a business perspective. Like, and then I would give you the lead, right? Don't bury the lead. So I'll tell you something like, it seems like we could probably work out something, pretty big, or maybe make it, $20,000-$30,000 together this year. It seems like, I could be wrong. Is that something you want to talk about, and have that adult conversation, like have that business conversation, or would you just rather, you too busy, something like that?
And you can say no.
100%. Yeah. It's like, you won't hurt my feelings at all. Like, but I throw it out there. And sometimes I'll put a disclaimer in there. It's like, hey, at the expense of embarrassing myself, this might sound a little weird. I especially say that to girls. Hey, at the expense of embarrassing myself, I'm feeling a little bit of a vibe. Would you like to go out to dinner sometime? If not, no sweat. Something like that. And that's super simple. Yeah. So then that person now feels like you're treating them like a respectable, mature adult.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, or no, rather than this really weird gray friend zone area in business or in intimate relationships where you have expectations. I'll tell you, a girl treated me like this currently. And it was a huge turnoff. Like, I had a very direct conversation with her saying, we went through the analysis. Her, like, the kid situation did not match up, right? Like, I want to have a certain amount of kids. She did not, right? And then I just said, okay, like, this won't work. Like, this won't work. Like, very clearly, this cannot work. I'm attracted to you. You're attracted to me. Totally cool. But this cannot work. This is an unsolvable problem that I am not willing to overlook. We have that conversation. Boom, done, right? So, and I said, like, we are friends. This is very direct. Like, there's no ambiguity to this.
Welcome
so then,
to the friend zone.
Yeah. And so in my mind, everything's cool. So then she like reaches out to me or something. I don't get back to her for like a day and a half or something, because she's not in the zone of importance, like to that degree, right? Like, I have to get back to my spouse within a certain period of time. I do not have to get back to anyone else except maybe my clients within a reasonable period of time, not my friends, right? Like, especially during the work week, and all my friends know that I'm super busy. So like Matt, for instance, would never like give me the cold shoulder because I haven't responded.
You're terrible at texting and follow up. Like,
awful.
2 days later, you'll do like a muscle emoji. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And that's only because I'm focused purely on offense for my family. Like that. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's not to be disrespectful to anyone. I recommend that all of us men out there do that. Like, go out and hunt for your family, right? Not replying to text messages. You can leave the text messages for the weekend or for whatever, as long as you have a cool, sound group of dudes around you who don't get fucking offended about it.
Right.
Like if I send a text message to Matt and he doesn't get back to me for a full week or a month, I don't give a shit. Like I know that he respects me, I respect him, and I respect his goals and vice versa.
Yeah.
So anyway, this girl ends up getting mad at me, like ends up getting drunk, calls me, oh no, actually I called her over the week, like a little while ago. I called her over the weekend and I said, hey, what's going on? I'm just getting, kind of getting back to your text. And like, she was a little bit tipsy. And then all of a sudden it all comes out. It's like, you're doing this on purpose. It's like, what am I doing on purpose? And she's like, well, you're playing games. I was like, what games did I play? I literally told you that we cannot work. Like, this was so straightforward. And we agreed. So that's where it can get a little funky, but I can fall back on my intention and my communication. It's like, no, I told you this exactly. The rest is on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kaizen's saying like, don't overqualify yourself and like saying too much. It's the same as overselling. That makes me so. And what you're talking about, what Kaizen's talking about, is that comes up in Sandler sales, and even ASB even mentioned it when me and Chalupa Cabra and ASB were talking about sales. He said it's all about the discovery phase, right? Where you have to spend more time figuring out if the person is the right fit for what you're selling, or in the case of dating, like a compatible mate. You have to spend way more time in that discovery phase than like pitching your features and benefits.
Oh,
right?
Can I give you something that I just recently learned?
Go.
Okay, so I'm a novice at all this. I'm several years deep, but I'm still a novice for sure. So one of the things, and Ray, you might be able to take it for your own business, or if anybody's listening to this, they could take it for their business. So you're trying to build a sales funnel, right? And whether it be with girls or in business. So, but you want to get your value systems out of there. Now, I have tested a hypothesis, which is a lot of sales training teaches you to listen more than you talk. And I actually disagree with that. If you're a good talker, and Ray, you're in this category for sure. So what we've tested now is getting people, all of these people, hundreds of people, into classrooms and having me teach them for hours. This is a monologue. This is not a dialogue. Right. So there's no listening on my part. Zero, right? Then from there, the call to action is like, hey, if you want to have a strategy session with me, totally fine. My calendar's a bit booked. We have some spots available. First come, first serve, right? Urgency, scarcity, appeal to authority because I've already done it, social proof because everybody's around it, blah, 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 right? All those things, check the box. So then they come in and now they have strategy sessions and I give parameters. You get 1 hour of my time to ask me questions and I will answer your questions. And at the end of that hour, if it makes sense to keep on to do business together in the future, great. If not, no sweat. So here's what just changed recently. And I've only tried this 5 times. So strategy session, they come in, they ask me questions. I teach them some answers on their questions. Then I say, okay, great. This is the free version of this. I'm going to tell you what you need to do to fix your situation to the best of my ability within the next 15 minutes. Take that, do it on your own if you want to. Absolutely. If you want us to do it, me and my staff to do it, then it's $2,500. But since you came to the class yesterday, it's $500 less, so because I don't have to now teach you more once I go through my analysis with you. But if you make a decision today, it's $1,500. That's the exact sales pitch, right? Like your free version is this. Take it if you want to do it yourself. The highest level paid of this is $2,500, but since you already did this, I'm dropping it down by $500. If you make a decision within 24 hours, I will drop it down by $1,500. Then I say, no problem if you don't make a decision within 24 hours, it just goes up to $2,000. That's it. And that's the final price. And I say, here's what we do. Boom, 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 boom. Here's the value stack. Boom, boom, boom. And out of the 5 people I pitched, 1 was not qualified. Just didn't have any, it was not worth it. So I didn't really pitch him. So we're down to 4. 3 of the 4 have said yes. The 4th is still thinking about it. So now that's $4,500 and only in 1 meeting, 2 if you count the class. Whereas before I used to do 3-4 meetings with somebody before they made a decision to work together. So there's something to saying, hey, we're going to have an adult conversation. Are you okay with that? And then you are going to pay because when you pay, there's value associated to it. Mm-hmm. And dude, I've heard that so many times, and I just took a different slant on it this time, and it's paying off big time, like huge. So I would say, Ray, what in there can you adopt, or any of these guys adopt, whether it be in their dating or their business life? What can you adopt from there, where maybe not so much of listening, but maybe more so of like, how can you get out there, a broader spectrum, be the rainmaker, and then filter down from there?
Well, yeah, Kaizen mentioned in a text, like overselling makes the thing seem less valuable, right? And so what you're doing is you're not
Yes.
overselling, right? You're getting right to
Nope.
you're doing the opposite. You're underselling. I mean, that's not the correct term, but like,
Yep, exactly.
And so it's interesting. So what you're talking about is not listen more than you talk, right?
Correct.
It's like an express qualifying,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting right to, do you want to work together?
Yeah, I put it in the bucket of like, I don't know, like alpha sales or something like that. Because by the way, listening can totally work. My partner, that's exactly how he does it. In my opinion, though, it is you are selling from a lower status than they are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, tell me everything that you want and what you need, and then I'll go fetch it for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. That's a servant sale. By the way, it totally works. It could totally work. And that's a whole school of thought. But then when I was thinking about this, I was like, shit, I've spent thousands of dollars on Tony Robbins. That motherfucker never has listened to me once.
Yeah.
You know, never did I have a conversation with Tony Robbins, and I've spent thousands of dollars with him. Right. So that's clearly just a pattern that, like, an alternative pattern is you go out, become high status, become very authoritative, become so expert in your thing, right, that people want to do work with you. So that way, Tony Robbins, he's only dealing with me when I want to buy. And he's not even dealing with me. I just press a fucking button, or I go to his like UPW or somewhere. Like, he's never involved in the process. So clearly there's another way.
Yeah. And then we're also, something we worked on this week at Sandler was transactional analysis, and the 3 ego states: parent, adult, and child, right? And so
there you go.
Like, and from what you're saying about like the servant state is like a child asking or begging for the business of the parent's client, and whereas it's you prefer the equal status.
No, I prefer being significantly higher in status than them.
Okay.
In that domain.
Yeah. So then there's 2 modes of parents in the parent ego state, right? There's the critical, you're doing it all wrong, or there's the nurturing, here's how I can teach you. Right? And so what we learned this week is that it's better to be the best. So out of the rebellious, adaptive, or natural child, or the critical or nurturing parents, you want to be the nurturing parent's ego state when you're the salesperson.
Sounds like it. And Ray, I think you could totally do it.
Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. You'd be phenomenal at it. Because you know how to use your words. And sorry about the rash. I took an antibiotic and it fucked up my face.
That's not your new girlfriend?
I wish.
Yeah, so Kaizen says, coming from the buyer-seller frame, the seller is the decider, not them. They have to qualify, not you. And I mean that also, like, that applies to dating as well, right? Where although I mean it's that, like, that's not the traditional method though, right? Like when you're in a job interview, we're desperate to get that job, right? When we're in a date, we're desperate to get laid, right? And when we're selling something, we're desperate to get that little win. But that's so, like, it's almost as if our default programming is the opposite of what we're talking about today.
Without a doubt. I think the 2 precursors to this are, number 1, your intentions, and number 2, how good are you? Where, like, if you're not good, and if you're really not good, then you can't do the alpha sale. It's not possible, because, like, unless you're a magician, you're going to have to be able to trick them into thinking you're the alpha. But here's the thing: If you're not, then eventually they're going to find out. Now, I think the cool thing is that because of our brains, our prefrontal cortices, like, is that cortices? Maybe prefrontal cortex. You are able to think through that. And for dating in particular, you don't necessarily need to, quote, be the alpha current state. All you need to have is the true intention and ambition of being the alpha. Dude, stories of ambition, you can borrow so many years in the future, and a girl will follow you that many years into the future as long as you, and here's the thing, you can't be a dick about it. You can't be tricking them, but it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, here's where I'm going. Look at me now. I'm 80 pounds overweight. I'm broke, but here's what I'm fucking doing. Like, here's my ambition. And if you don't want to get on board, no problem. But just know that you will regret it in the future. Like saying that, like subliminally, at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it's so true. Stories of ambition can, it's almost as if it creates a bridge where people are willing to take a risk.
Without a doubt.
Right. Like whether it's dating, whether it's sales, whether it's employment.
Oh yeah. If I could remind myself of one thing and remind the guys of something, it's stay true to your ambition and voice it. Mm-hmm. It's such an attractive quality. Like, hey, here's where we're fucking going. And it's attractive to your female counterparts. It's attractive to your business partners, to your peers, like everything. It's like, here's like the person you're looking at now, I will be embarrassed of him a year from now. And so will you be.
Yeah. And that's what, and when we talked about the pregame, like
yes.
The game, so like the game is being the alpha at whether it's sales, relationship, employment, and the pregame is that. And so like the pregame is what we're doing, like the building of the skills and the networking, yep. Right? And I think that the stories of ambition. And the ambition is the pregame.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I've always said from the beginning that, like, in order to join our men's team, the only prerequisite is you have to have ambition. I don't know how to teach ambition. Right? Like, it's I don't want to say it comes naturally, but it's like, if you don't have ambition, most likely you're in such a cushy situation, and you've been there for such a long time that you don't know what pushing weight even is. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know how to teach you that. Like, stop sucking from your parents' teats and like go out and live on your own, and then you'll naturally become ambitious. But yeah, man, ambition. And this is where the conversation gets like, look, if you were my brother, I would say, how valuable are you? In this category, how valuable are you? And you have to be super authentic and say, like, not much, not very valuable. I don't know. I'm just not saying you, Ray, but just in general. I hear. Right? If you don't come to that conclusion of, like, on a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of business, I'm only level 5 valuable. Okay, well, how do we make up the difference? But if you never come to that conclusion, you always play fucking games with yourself. Oh, I am good enough. I am good enough. Like, sure, fine, you're fucking good enough, but you need to improve. How do we get there? And it's in that improvement and that you start thinking about, okay, here's what I changed. And you change something that fucking day. You can immediately go out and tell that girl that you're chasing after, like, here's what I'm fucking doing. But if you're not, then you're just a fucking liar. Then you don't deserve the girl.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like the fake it till you make it.
Agreed.
Expression or mentality, because I guess that would be the pregame for some people, right? Mm-hmm. Fake it until you make it.
Yep.
Right. Whereas what we're talking about is improve.
Yes.
Until you make it, or like, right, or build.
Yeah.
Or train until you.
Yeah. Make it. And you can tell people that, like, that stupid girl at Home Goods, she's pretending like she has some like big empire, and she doesn't. Or like, there's no way that she does. But just tell me that. Like, hey, I'm trying to start with this group, and they're trying to teach me how to start a business, and I'm struggling with it. And it's like, but I'm fucking committed to it. Like, that to me is way more attractive than like,
way more inspiring.
Like, yeah. I'm building this like huge passive income engine. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Right. Or like, you see this watch, wouldn't you like to have a watch like this? Yeah. What if I told you you could have a watch like this in 30 days? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right. Those kind of YouTube commercials. Mm-hmm. And because of the kind of videos we watch, like the Tony Robbins or whatever.
Yeah.
The ads I get on YouTube are so bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I made $100,000 last week passively. Like it was super
Affiliate
easy actually.
affiliate marketing or like something about
Uh,
Amazon or I mean I
yeah.
just get rich quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Kaizen said YouTube Premium is worth it. Worth it. Yeah, I totally agree. I have YouTube Premium as well. So Ray, what now that how many weeks into Sandler sales training are you?
I'm about 4 weeks, and the way it you it's a 10 week wheel, right? And
Okay.
you jump in you jump in at whatever class you jump in, right? So at whatever
Okay.
stage of the wheel you jump in. So like the first three were the kind of end of the cycle, and I'm only now starting um, lesson one, which
Got it.
prospecting, that kind of thing.
Love it. Hell yeah. Have you noticed that you've used any of the techniques or skills in outside of business?
I don't know. Like I'm really just learning a lot at this point, but I can see the applications far beyond um, just selling art.
Hmm.
You know, like for example, if you act typically, you'll be treated typically, right? Like if you act like a used car salesman, you will be treated like, you're annoying somebody.
Yep.
You know, if your competition is doing it, then don't do it. Like these are rules that we can apply to everything we're talking about.
Hmm. Totally.
Like for like seeking employment, like if your if your competition is just sending replying to job postings online, don't do it. Pick up
Right.
the phone. How powerful is picking up the phone and connecting with someone voice to voice?
Totally. Hell yeah,
And
man.
and the same goes for relationships. The same goes for sales. I haven't built up the like scrotum to pick up the phone and cold call yet
Okay.
for my work, but part of the sales training is that they stop teaching you after a little while, and then it's just a matter of like setting goals and the next week reporting back on how it went.
Love it.
And so um, at some point, I'm going to have to just like hold my breath and make those cold calls or whatever. Take those
Oh yeah.
take those emotional gambles or like ego gambles or whatever.
Is there a way you could do a class-based model, an education-based model?
What do you mean? How does that work?
So almost mirroring what I was saying with our business of like inviting people to a class, teaching them, and simultaneously therefore becoming the authority on the topic, and then having a sales funnel sequence from there.
Yeah, I think that's how I approach, or that at different times that's how I have approached social media, right? Like we've talked about um, like Instagram stories where like, hey, look at this new artist I discovered. They went to school here. Their style reminds me of Picasso.
Uh-huh.
I think this is a great investment. DM me for prices. Like we've talked about that
Uh-huh.
teaching model on social media, and so that's something I have occasionally done that I need to um, routinize. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean having an intermediary step of like inviting people to your art gallery or to your house or whatever. We're going to have an hour long educational whatever on a certain type of art. I don't know. I'm kind of out of my vernacular here, but I'd be fascinated to see what would happen if you built that.
well, I have something like that coming up on this Tuesday where um, the guy who gives me my cool real estate spaces for my galleries, his
Yeah.
wife has a neighborhood moms book club, right? And so they did it
Mhm.
at her house last month, and I've supplied a lot of the art to this guy, right? Because like he gives me spaces for free, and I have amazing art shows, and he ends up buying a bunch of it. So
Yeah.
all the rich housewives loved the art on the walls. So this month, it's going to take place in my house, where
Cool.
it's going to be half book club and then half like looking at the art on
Love
my
it.
walls. It's all going to be for sale. And so I've thought about um, It's going to be my first time to apply these skills where it's like, and I try to figure out like what altered state I'm going to be, right? Like go in there and
Mm,
say, all this art's for sale. If you want to buy something, you get my attention.
hmm
You
hmm
know, like or like
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out, but like the teaching model, Wes, I'm like, I don't want to not from like wasting my time, but like I
Mhm.
don't want to teach and then not make any sales,
Mm.
right? Because the goal is not to teach. The goal is to sell art.
Without a doubt. I would be curious about testing that hypothesis if you married the two.
Mhm. So
Like,
then, so how do you marry the two?
oh, if through what I was telling you earlier, like I am willing to give. So, for instance, on the class that I gave last weekend and the weekend before it at the college, it was 6 hours a piece.
Mhm.
So, and now I know a system like Sandler's would say, hey, that might be too much on the front loaded side. Um, I disagree with that for my business. Like
Right.
totally. Like that's what Tony Robbins does. I borrowed the model from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins would go out and speak at like different like real estate annex symposiums, different things for free. Right, like I didn't pay to get in there. He'd go in and do an hour-long speech, and then he'd have a very soft thing of like, hey, if you want to go deeper with us, just like look my name up online, and like you'll see some events, blah blah blah. Like that was it. So I used a similar model, and dude, I can tell you the teaching model, and I would be very surprised if this does not work in your business. So I definitely think it would work. Now you have to really build it out. It takes a long time to build out. But dude, if you're the guy that everybody looks to for education, I think you would crush it in the art space. Like
So
absolutely crush it.
I know you already explained like you have the seminar, and then if you want to if you have if you want to have a follow-up meeting, you get 1 hour, and then within that hour you're like, here's the free 15-minute roadmap. But if you want like my expert managing of the process, it costs 2,000 or 15 or whatever. So
Mhm.
like what is it about your like how do you like explain the teaching module
Oh,
so that it makes it so what makes it so attractive that um or like how do you avoid free riders or like unpaid consultant status, you know?
got it. Yep. And that's a thing with Sandler sales, like unpaid consulting. Like you're not going to get my stuff unless you pay for it,
Yes,
sort of thing.
yes.
Um, so, dude, totally dissecting a presentation, and guys can use this for dating, can use it for whatever. So if you read the book called Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, it has a lot of persuasive tactics. And plus, I've read a lot of sales books. So when I craft my presentations, and Ray, I think I may have even shown you this before. I might be wrong. I put them in an Excel sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally, if you can imagine a big table, an Excel table, right? And across the top of the columns, right, the headers of the columns, I have the first column is a number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah. And then the next column is the scripting. So line by line scripting. And then the next column starts is the feeling I'm trying to give them, right? And then the next column, that column through column 20, I think, ish, are the persuasive tactics. So, for instance, appeal to authority, right? Like, am I being authority? Like, are they looking at me as authority? So I craft my lines to make sure I'm receiving adequate scoring in each one of those tactics. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've shown me that before, but I thought that was the sales funnel. But I guess it applies to both, perhaps.
No, that's the presentation building.
Yeah. Okay.
Like quite literally. So like for instance, let's just say in a presentation, let's say I get an hour long presentation. Okay, well, I need 4 units of appeal to authority. I need 3 units of scarcity. I need 2 units of urgency. I need 10 units of social proof. Right. So now I know that's my score. That's what I have to reach. I want to make sure I'm adequately doing those things. Okay. Then I start writing the lines, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know at the bottom, I have what's called a value stack. So it's like, and we can always go through this as well in the future. So value stack, then price, and then ask, if that makes sense. And then usually money back guarantee, like all of those things. The whole making an offer thing is a whole science in itself. But like that's the full Excel sheet, all of those things.
Wes,
And I can tell you,
leave it at that because today is the first day of Thea's March break, and I'm supposed to take her out for pancakes.
Hell yeah.
So I'm supposed to I'm gonna prioritize pancakes with Thea.
Love it.
Say that we've learned a lot here today. Is all of this in the persuasion book?
60% of it is.
Okay, so if you could recommend one resource for the dogs.
One that I really like, even though I'm not so there's some things in there that might turn people off. They turn me off. I just discard those. Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson and .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. Phenomenal. Like if you read those 3 books that I just told you, just phenomenal frameworks for life and for persuasion, for dating, but it's really a business book.
Thea's adding something to the chat.
There you go.
Okay. Expert secrets and .com secrets. And these have like lessons that apply, like we said, across the board, relationships, employment, sales.
Oh yeah. And Kaizen said Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. That's also a phenomenal book. Robert Greene's a phenomenal author. I love his book Mastery as well. Like really, really good.
So I think once you get into a committed relationship, you might have to graduate out of some of those techniques.
You graduate into the Gottman Center of Influence.
Exactly. So Wes, I'm gonna go get some pancakes with Thea.
All right, dudes. Have an awesome fucking weekend.
Thank you for this, and we'll see you on Monday, Kings.
Thank you, dudes. Have a great fucking weekend, guys.